Hello lovers of the Stranger Things theme tune and all things 80s. In this tutorial we're going to be looking at recreating the Stranger Things theme tune. First thing you want to do is you want to boot up the arrangement that says Stranger Things No Sounds, and what you are going to do is you're going to recreate the sounds needed for that theme tune. So if you start playing it now, you'll notice there is absolutely nothing playing. That's because you need to recreate those sounds. And we'll start at the beginning. We're going to start with the arpeggiated line, which runs through the entirety of the theme. And we're going to use one of the top synths that you get in Logic Pro, Alchemy synth. So bring up the Alchemy synth. Give it a minute. Here we go. It opens up with the browser. And so a good way to work with the Alchemy synth is to find a sound which is kind of near in the ballpark of what you're looking for, and then edit it. So in this case, what you want to do is you want to start with the 1970s analog arp. So click on that, it will load up, and once we start playing, we will hear, there it is. So we can hear it's not quite right yet. The first thing we want to change is the arpeggiator on it, and maybe the delay. But anyway, let's start with the arpeggiator. So down here you have your kind of performance, your simple controls, and that's what we're going to use first. We want to go to arpeggiator. On the arp here, arp mode here, we have a this yellow line here. Now, that whenever you see one of these orange or these orange lines, that means that there is modulation happening on that. And if you control click or right click, you can clear that modulation. So that's what you want to do in this case. Clear that modulation off there, and you want to set the mode to up down. There we go, up down. Now if we play it now, there we go, there's the line. So that's that bit done. It's nice and easy. Still got loads of delay, but we'll get there. So let's go to the performance characteristics here, and we just want to change the release time to about 1 p.m. I like to do things by areas of clock, so you know, up is 12 p.m. or 12 a.m. and then so 1 p.m. is about there. There we go. Okay, so there's the basic kind of sound. Obviously there is some automation through with the sounds, which we'll get to at the end, but we're just going to get the basic kind of fatness. Okay, so now we have to go into advanced mode on the Alchemy synth. And what you have here, what you can see here, are now the 4 oscillators that are used for the sound. Each one of these you can put samples in here, you can put all kinds of stuff in here. It's extremely powerful. But what we're going to do is we're going to start with oscillator A. We can even go to oscillator A like that on its own, and we're going to change this. We're going to load a VA, and we're going to get a pulse, and we're going to use the pulse DC to that one. Okay, you see you have some controls here, so we want to pan this a bit to -10, around -10, and fine tune it to about -11 cents. And the reason why we do that is to kind of thicken the sound, so that's quite important. And then when the send one F1 F2, now this is sending to the filters, which we haven't got quite to, so we want to send that off. We want to make sure that's off, so we send that to the middle there. Okay, so let's go to oscillator B. So this is fine at the moment. It's the pulse DC. Again, we want to coarse tune this one, which is like in semitones. We want to put that down to -12. And the fine tune is a +10 as well. So that's kind of opposite from the other one. And again, turn the filter send off here. And let's go to C. And again, we're going to change this to a pulse DC as well. So we get the pulse DC. And coarse tune on this one is actually -24, and this comes in later. We've got to make sure that the volume is down at the beginning, but we'll get there. We'll get to that. And the send F1 is about 9 p.m, so we want to send this to filter 1 around there like that. And finally, oscillator D, we want to change that to saw basic MG if we can find it. Basic MG, there it is, which is Moog or Moog, depending on who you talk to. Okay, so let's have a listen to that. So yeah, it's a much more complex sound now, and that's going to give us more stuff to deal with in terms of automation. Right, so now we have to go to the ADSR envelope. On the Alchemy synth, we have this extra bit called the H, which is hold, but we don't really deal with that. We just want to increase the attack a little bit to about, just a little bit, just to about there, maybe, something about that. And the decay, we want to turn the decay to about 45. 0.45 around there, and the release time is about 0.023, so quite fast like that. The attack's a bit too. So we're using the decay time is really how to shape it, so we can bring that quite low down. So we're making the sound as we go. We've got to go through it, keep tweaking it until we find what we want to do. So let's go to the effects now, and let's deal with the multi-mode filter. We'll turn that off. We don't really need that. Okay, so this is what we want to do with the mod effects. We want to first of all clear the modulation on here, set that to around 10%. The delay is quite long. It's about 2 o'clock, something like that, and the rate wants to be around 4.4 hertz, or around 5 hertz, around there, and depth needs to be quite long, a lot of feedback, maximum stereo, and that makes it sound like there. So let's go to the delay and clear the mod on the mix, so we want that about 10%, so it's not too much. Right cut off about 100%. So yeah, I mean, we're going to tweak those effects a bit more, but that's roughly what we want to do. Okay, so let's go now to the global page here, and we want to change these filters as well. So we've got LP24 edgy here, 24 dB edgy. We want LP12 edgy. And clear the modulation for all of these, because we don't want any modulation there. So just clear all the modulation, and this one as well, filter 2. Okay, and they should both be, and then we can just put them to a sort of starting point. About 1.5K. And a little bit of resonance, about 35%. There we go, that's nice. So that's going to be automated. We're going to automate that at some point. So with the filter, make sure that you turn the drive up to about 50% on each one, and one extra thing you should do is make sure that the master's up on 100%. And volume, so at C, we really want to turn this one down. That's okay at the moment, but we can turn that off at the moment. So we're just going to mute that one out. Because that comes in later. It's quite nice. So volume A is about 3 PM. Volume B is about 4 PM. Volume C is about 3 PM, and 5 PM for this one. There we go. Right, automation parameters. Let's have a quick look at those. So if we open it up and press A, you can see we've got all the automation parameters that we use. Okay, so this is really important to have a go at messing around with, and so you can so we can, the release time, for example, we could click in here and we could turn the release time down at the beginning. So yeah, so we can do the automation for the release time, and let's have a listen to what it sounds like when we use some automation on the filter cutoff. We can have resonance coming in as well. Filter cutoff 2. Alchemy C. So this one is going to be low at the beginning and then come in. Modulation delay. There's a lot of fun to be had with moving that sound around using the automation. Now, embedded in this arrangement, if you press the H button, what you see is all the parts and how they're actually meant to sound. They've also got the automation embedded in them as well. So if you don't want to bother with the automation, you can just delete the original track here, highlight this, and copy that up to the track like that. And then you'll get all the automation as it's been recorded by me, to give you an idea of what happens in the track. You can also see how close it is to the original as well. So there you go, press the H again and that gets rid of everything. Okay, so now we've got this original sound, basic sound. Now we want to work on the effects. So the first effects are basically EQ. Now on this EQ we want to roll off a bit at the bottom end. So we're going to open up the filter here on the left and just roll off around there, about 80, around there. And we want to boost around 340, around there, about 3.5, 4 dB, something like that. Q maybe a bit tighter. Yeah, something like that. Again, you can check that with the hidden arrangement. Okay, and then we want to use another EQ. If we go down to audio units and use Apple, and we can see we have here a graphic EQ, which is quite good. And we just want to roll off the top end. We just want to sort of make it a bit mellower. So we're just going to use these to roll it off like that. And I'm just showing you this so you know it's available. There we go, getting there. Now we want to compress it. Now compression is to do with dynamics. It controls the dynamics. The Studio Effect is a great compressor. I really like it. Turn the threshold down to about -10, just over 2 for the ratio, +5 boost. Increase the attack time to about 80 and the release time to about 500 milliseconds. There we go. And now all it needs is a little bit of reverb on it. And I've got that already in the effects here. So turn on bus 10 and we can see bus 10 is a space designer. And there we go, it's a 0.8 plate. So let's see what that sounds like. There we go. And that is the main arpeggiated line for the Stranger Things theme. Right, let's move on to the kick drum. So we're just going to use the Ultra Beat, which is the standard drum machine that comes with Logic, and we're just going to use the factory default. The only thing we're going to do on this is we're just going to increase the attack time by a tiny amount, like that, just to take the edge off the front. So if we hear it now, give it a bit more level. So we can just make it quite soft. Let's mute that for the moment. So that's just a nice fat analog kick drum sound. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to put some EQ on it. So we just use the channel EQ and about 180 hertz, kind of low body. We're going to give it a nice boost of about 5 dB, and it's going to be about 0.3 Q. So that's quite wide bass there. And then about 740, we're going to cut around there, quite tight as well. We're going to cut by about 11, so quite extreme. These are quite extreme values. And then tighten it up around Q about 1. Around there like that. So just take off that little bit there. And around 450, we're going to boost at 2.2 Q. A big boost like that. There we go. Let's just hear it now. Just made it add a bit of kind of electronicness, if you like. So now after this we're going to put it through a filter, and we have a filter here. We have the auto filter, and we want to make sure that the fatness is up 100% and the envelope is up 100%, and we've got a cutoff of around 75, 74, around there. There we go, like that. And now we put in some chorus. And the chorus just wants to be quite standard, maybe a bit faster, mixed down a little bit, intensity around there's fine. And it adds that kind of doubling sound, which again makes it sound more kind of electronic, synthetic, if you like. And moving on to the compressor, I'm going to use my favorite compressor, the Studio FET, and we have a threshold of just around -22, ratio of about 2. Mark gain is fine. With attack, we're going to bring this down a little bit, make it sharper, and the release time is going to be around 1K, so quite a slow release. Make sure that the limiter is on. There we go. That's sort of sharpened up the sound a bit. Now we want to put on the delay, so we use the delay designer for this, and we want 1/16 delay, which I believe is, I don't know, we might have 1/16 delay. I've got one here already, so that's around at this point here, and I've taken off the cutoff a little bit here. There we go, and that gives it that double effect. Okay, so then moving on, we have to put some effects on from the buses. The one bus I've done here, I've done a special effect with the ring shifter, which adds this real kind of synthetic, kind of bit crushing sound at the top, and that's quite important. And then a little bit of this bus 6, which I use on everything. It's got a big phaser which comes in at the end. It's automated in at the end. So I might just take away a little bit more of the front of this. Let's just soften it up a bit more. There we go. So attack of about 1.6 milliseconds. And that is the kick drum. Okay, so let's move on to the Angelic choir. Now this sound just comes from the Alchemy synth, so let's get an insert in there. And it wants to be the Angelic choir. And there it is, comes up quite quick. There it is. So let that load. And if we listen to it, oh, let's just solo that out first. And we can just use the simple controls here. We can just use the filter cutoff. We just want to bring that down a little bit just to take the edge off that. And that's all you need to do. There is another element to this, that we've got 2 Angelic choirs, and the actual filter cutoff is automated on this section. So we'll do that in a minute. Let's just get the sound right for this. So the next thing we want to do is put in a channel EQ. We need to cut away some of the bottom end to about 100, 120, around there sort of thing. And then we want to boost about 490. About there, about 0.3 Q. Yeah, that's about right. And cut away about 345. So about there. And this has got to be quite sharp. Q about 0.51. Like that. A bit like that. Okay. And that gives it a kind of more filtered sound. That's quite noisy, this, so I'm going to put a gate on it, and so just use a dynamic gate and just basic kind of tiny bit of reduction. And that's all you need to do really on that. Now in the buses, we've got bus 12 here. Let's turn that on. Now bus 12 is a space designer, quite long, 3.4 second warm hall, with an EQ, which is really taking out loads of the bottom end, loads of the top end. If I take the EQ off, that's what it sounds like. Put the EQ on. Adds a lot of body to that sound. And that is the Angelic Choir 1. So now I can just copy this across. If I use the Alt key, I can copy this across. And it's the same, and the EQ is slightly different on this one. I would cut away a bit more here. No, about 80, around there. And we want to boost around 1K, around 1.2K, about 14. Quite high, quite low Q, like that. So very, very different. And then we want to cut away the top, like that. So So let's just listen to what that's done to this sound. Let's just solo this one out and hear this one from there. Okay, and we're going to put some automation on that. What we'll do is we can just do it real time. So what we'll do is we will put into automation touch mode, and we want to start down quite low, and we want to build this up over this section. So let's just hear it with both. Let's just hear it with both of them together. Like that. And so that's now put this into reed. Let's hear it together with what we've got so far. Sounds good. And that is the Angelic choir. So it really is quite straightforward, just filter cutoff essentially and a little bit of EQ. Oh, let's just make sure that we have the bus 6 for our end effect, have that plugged in as well. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so let's move on to the electric piano. Now again, we're going to use the Alchemy synth for this, and the starting point is the 1980 sweep pad. So just use the search bar, 1980, 80, there we go, sweep pad. And let's just solo that out and see what we've got. So it's kind of there. First thing we want to do is just turn the filter cutoff down to about 50%. That's a bit better. We'll work on it a bit more. And then we want to look at the global filters. So we have here LP12 clean, that's fine. This one we want to change, the second one we want to change to a band pass filter and turn off the modulation for these two. We don't need that. That's about right. And now we actually want to set some modulation up on this filter cutoff point here. So we're going to add modulation, envelope AHDSR2. And the depth, if you look over here, we want to change that to about 50%. There we go. We might want to turn this up a bit. There we go, a bit wider there. There we go, getting there. Right, so now let's look at the individual oscillators. I just want to clear the modulation off the cutoff here, this one. That's about right. And this wants to be about, filter cutoff wants to be about 10 PM, around there. There you go, sounds good. Right, so that's oscillator A. Oscillator B, we want a low pass gritty on this one. 12 dB gritty, and we want to tune this +5. +5. There we go. Nice. And the oscillator C is no change on that one. And on D, you want a band pass smooth. 12 dB smooth. 6 dB smooth, if we can find it. Band pass 6 dB smooth. There it is. And add modulation. So clear that modulation and then add some more. Add the envelope 2, and that wants to be depth 100%. There we go. You want to change that a little bit, and yeah, that's about right. About 1 PM for that. About 10 PM for the sustain. Release is about 9 PM. Like that. That's it. That's pretty much it. So the only thing I really need to do now is just make sure this is turned all the way up. make sure that this sounds. Let me turn the release down a little bit. And that is the electric piano. Okay, so now we're going to go on to the classic pad. Now this is quite easy to find. You have to use the other browser here. And if you just type in classic pad, there it is. It should be there. You could download it if you haven't got it. So let's have a listen to that now. There's only a couple of things we've got to do. We're going to turn off the chorus. Don't need that. A bit too much chorus on it. And we want to have a bus 4 automatically comes on, and here it is, a space designer. That's fine. And we want to have a bit of bus 6. We want to make sure we have some of that for the end. Let me turn that on there. So now we want to automate the filter cutoff. So that's easy. We just again we just put it into latch mode or touch mode, and then just hear it from the beginning. And that's it. That is the classic pad. Okay, so let's move on to the bright cycle. So the bright cycle, it comes from the Retro Synth. We type in the Retro Synth here, and we can, there it is, it's in synth leads. So it's a synth lead sound, as you can see. This is quite a fat sound, so a bit of editing to be done on this. So first off, we're going to do the oscillator semitones, got to go down 12. So that's mixed two oscillators up together. Filter cutoff is about 0.4 with the resonance, but this is going to be automated anyway, so it starts band there. And the amp envelope, you want it to be a bit longer like that. Okay, let's see what that sounds like in context. So you can unmute it. Okay, so it needs some manipulation with the plugins. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a compressor because it is quite all over the shop. And it's just a basic compressor. I'm just going to use it really basically just to control the dynamics. Nothing too major. There we go. Okay, now we'll put in some EQ, and I'm going to roll off around 75 Hertz, about 24-48 dB here. And boost around 390. Now we want to put in a tape delay just to give it a space in the mix. So tape delay is nice and easy. Stereo here, 1/8, about that. Feedback about 16%, dry 100%, wet about 18-20% around there. And we've got to make sure that we have that bus 6 in as well. Get the level right. Go. That is the bright cycle, which is a heavy sound in there. Right, let's move on to the next thing. Okay, so let's go on with this little arpeggiated thing that comes in the beginning. So again, we're going to use the Retro Synth, and we're going to use one of these sequenced elements, which is the shifting frequencies. Here we go, like that. And we're going to change the filter to a high pass filter to begin with, creamy high pass filter, and the cutoff is about 0.48. Yeah, and that's going to be automated. The resonance as well is quite high, like that. And yeah, so sine level off as well, and that's giving us our basic sound, but we're not hearing it at the moment because it needs to be arpeggiated. So let's use the MIDI effects arpeggiator, and the arpeggiator is going to be at a fast rate of 32 notes, like that. And we're going to go for the order is going to be up down, about that, and variation 2. I think that should do it. There we go, that's pretty much what we want. And we just need a few effects on it now. So, well, basic effects are going to be delay. We're just going to use the echo delay. 1/8 notes, 64%. Dry, wet, about 40%. And now we want to put on some Space Designer on bus 3, which is just a 1.6 short vocal hall. So the B12, which is the nice reverb with EQ, and bus 6 for our phase. So just make sure that isn't too loud. And so that's going to sound like this. There you go, let's move on to the next thing. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the fake choir. So this again is a Alchemy synth, and we want to find the fake choir. So let's just put that in, fake choir, there it is. Okay, so we load that in, and there's only a few things we need to do this. We need to cut down to about 35%, and this is going to be automated as well. And if we go to advanced settings again, and we go to C, we want to add in a sample here. So we want to import audio, and we want to go to vocals, we want to go to choir, and we just want to take the first one. We'll just take the first one in here. There we go, and that will load that sample in there, and that's basically it. So let's just hear what that sounds like. And that's what it does, that weird sound. Okay, so we need to do a bit of automation on this. All we need to do is we need to do some muting automation. So it just needs to be muted there, open there, and muted there, like that. The other bit of automation we have to do is the filter cutoff, and you can see how we've worked it here, and it changes all the way through this section as well. So up and down, and the end result sounds like this. A little bit of EQ on here as well, so just need to take away a little bit of this top end around here. Something like that. And that is the fake choir. Okay, so let's move on to the next bit. So these 4 sounds kind of work together. They're kind of layering together to make another sound, but we'll just go through it bit by bit. So the first thing we need to do is we need to use the browser to find the big pulse waves. And there it is. Double click on that, and there it is. So let's just solo this out and see what we got. So it's close. It's close. We just need to do a little bit of editing to it. So if we open up, we're using the ES2 here. You can see, and we've just got to change this all the oscillators to oscillator 3. I mean to 0 on the tuning, so it's not down at -12 anymore. Let's see what that's happening. There we go. Yeah, it's taking that low end out of it. And the filter, we want to change this to a band pass. So from a low pass to a band pass, and about 3 p.m. around there. Drive about 10 p.m. Okay, so now we used to use the envelope 2. Now this is normally this is normally set to filter, so we need to set this to about 0.2 something or other, 0.27. The envelope 3 wants the attack range 1 to 20%. Something like that. And that's it. That's all you need to do for that sound. Okay, so let's move on to the next one, and just type into the browser steel bells and load that up. And we have a sculpture synth here, which is nice and easy. And I don't think we need to do anything to this sound at all, but let's just see what it sounds like in relation to. So that sound is more or less in the ballpark. And now we're going to add a few plugins to it to give it a bit of an extra texture. So if we just carry on down in this list and we add a distortion, a bit crusher, drive that to about 9.5 dB, downsampling about 4, and the resolution, make sure the resolution is high, it's 24 bit, and mix is 100%. There we go. Turn the chorus off. Microphaser, we need to edit this a little bit. We need to turn the intensity up a bit. Feedback, the intensity up a bit, about 40%, something like 35%, and the feedback about 44%. There we go. And we do, and a little bit of bus 6 for the end. And let's just get the level for that, maybe. Okay, yeah, that's working. Okay, so let's go on to the next bit of this sound, which is the Mellotron Choir. Now this is in the Alchemy synth, my favourite at the moment. And hopefully this will just work this time. There it is, brilliant. So if you just go to search for the Mellotron Choir, there it is. And we just really straightforward edits on this. We want to turn down the attack time in the performance bit, and the release time we want to turn to about 3 o'clock, about there. So let's just hear what that sounds like. So we're just creating layers for this effect that happens at bar 7. Okay, and then the last one in here is the voice scanner, which again is an Alchemy synth. And again, use the browser. Voice scanner, there it is. And this is pretty straightforward as well. We just want to turn the cutoff down to about 50%. And before I forget, make sure you turn on the bus 6 on here. And let's put that together. Let's hear that on its own. So we might need a little bit more level on that. Okay, and let's hear it in context with everything. So that's this little bit that happens at bar 7. Now, next video, we're going to look at this section here. Okay, so let's move on to the section that starts at bar 11, and we're going to start with the breathy swells here. So again, what you want to do is you want to go to the browser and type in breathy swells. Now this is quite an old sound, so you might need to download this from the Apple website, and there's not much you need to do with it. We're going to use the EXS24 sampler, which will be the sound. Let's just solo that out. Let's see what that sounds like to begin with. Okay, so we just want to turn the cutoff down a little bit and the resonance up quite a lot. And that is it. That's all you need to do. Quite a straightforward sound, just using the filter and the resonance effectively. So let's move on to the next one, which is the Cosmic Boys Choir, and then it's our favourite, Alchemy. So again, put in a new instance of Alchemy, type in Cosmic, and there it is, Cosmic Boys Choir. Now I just want to put some stuff on the delay on this in the perform section. There should be some delay. Here it is, and we want to put that to about 1 PM, a bit higher like that, and the cutoff we want to open that up as well. So let's just hear those two together. Okay, together. So it's getting there. It's getting there. Let's move on to the next bit. So we've got this white noise here. Now this takes a bit of time to get used to, so I'm going to do that in another video the next time. So let's just carry on with this dark synth choir, which is again an Alchemy synth. So let's just put that in. Dark synth choir. There it is. And the dark synth choir, we just in the perform, we want to set the delay down a little bit, the attack of it to be just a bit less than that, and the release to be a lot longer, a bit longer about that. And in the filter 2 cutoff, this one wants to be a bit lower as well. So let's just hear that as it sounds, as it stands. Plugins, we're going to put in a compressor, just a straightforward platinum compressor, set to the basic settings, -20, that's it. Yep, and a bit of bus 12. It should have. Don't know why it doesn't, but it will do now. And a bit of bus 6. Okay, so let's just hear those 3 sounds together. That's it, just layering up those sounds, making them sound more ethereal. Right, so there's only one bit of automation on these 3 sounds, and that's on the breathy swell. So if we have a quick look at that, we can see what that does. It's just filter cutoff at the end. Up, down, and up again. And that is the start of that section. In the next video, we're going to look specifically at the white noise. Okay, so this video we're just going to look at creating some white noise, which is useful for loads of different applications within an arrangement. So we're going to start off by using the ES2 synthesizer in the default setting, and we're going to turn off oscillator 1, turn off oscillator 2, and change oscillator 3 to noise. And the filter on the left here, that's fine. We want to change that to about 8 p.m. to start with, so about there, and the resonance wants to be about 1 p.m. about there, like that. And on the effects, distortion, you want to add a bit of distortion to this, about 10 p.m. and the intensity about 10 p.m. as well of the chorus. So the routing matrix, you see here, you've got one here that says cut 1 plus 2, so that's both filters. Envelope 2, we want to increase this up to about 80%, so it's going to be more, it's going to look at the envelope 2 for how it's going to move around. Now the envelope 2 is about attack of about 20%, decay of about 75%, sustain at about 15%, and release at about 30%. So yeah, that's okay. Envelope 3, attack is about 30%, decay is about 35%, sustain is 100%, and release is about 25, about there. In terms of plugins, we're going to use a echo on here, about 1/8 notes, 64, 100% dry, 20% wet, and a compressor after this, which is just a platinum digital, but we just make sure that we've got a lower threshold, and the ratio is just, that's fine. And make sure you have bus 12 turned on and bus 6. Okay, so let's just look at the automation, and we should have MMF cutoff. So that's what this does. So let's just listen to that on its own. Just comes in here. Okay, so that adds a lot of effect. So let's listen to it in context. And that's the white noise, a very useful effect to know. Right, so the next two sounds come from the Retro Synth. So let's just get an instance of the Retro Synth in here. That's fine. And then we can just find the sound if we just click in here and put in pulsing air. There it is. And that brings up the sound. So a little bit of editing on this. The LFO filter, the LFO needs to go to about all the way down to 7 p.m. So we're going to turn the LFO filter off. And the cut is going to be, the cut off is going to be about 0.9, around there, like that. And the resonance is off as well, so about there. Amplitude envelope, we want to attack for about 20, which is what we've got. Attack a bit quicker, about 20 to 17 milliseconds. And the decay about 430. Around there. And the okay, so let's just start with the filter envelope, which is this one. The attack wants to be about 6/10, so quite a slow attack, and decay wants to be even longer, but that's fine. The decay is fine where that is, but the sustain wants to be about 0.4, about there, and the release about 240. Like that. And then on the amplitude envelope, we want to attack for about 20. Around there, we can just type it in if we want. And decay about 460, that's fine. 0.68 for the sustain. and release of about 370, which is fine. And that should give us this pulsing air sound. So let's have a listen. Let's just start from there. And that's it. Okay, so now we put in another retro synth in the next one. Solo it out. Antimatter synth, which is the first one in the list. There we go. Boom. Okay, so this is a frequency modulating synth, which is slightly different from subtractive synthesis. Essentially, we have these harmonic and enharmonic elements to it that we need to kind of fine tune. So we can go that this one is 0.860. The harmonic is 0.242. The enharmonic is 0.007. The shape is 0.080. And the mix is 0.38. Okay, now the LFO sync is off. The rate is 48. And the type is a square wave, like so. The amplitude envelope has a tack of 110, decay of 750, a sustain of 0.67, and release of 940. So that's just that. Okay, so let's just hear what that sounds like. Right, so sort of getting there. Let's put in a few effects. So we put in a ring shifter, which is a modulation effect, and about 300 hertz right. So about there. Let's see what that sounds like. Nice, getting there. And then we want to put an echo in front of that, which is the 1/8 echo, 64%, 96, and the wet wants to be about 78%. There we go. Nice, and don't forget that bus 6. Okay, so that's that bit. Now let's just finish off with the analog head nodder. So this is the last instance of the Alchemy synth we're going to use, and we just want to bring it up and search for the analog head nod, and there it is. And the only thing we need to do here is turn the ARP mode to down, and that is it. So let's have a quick listen to that. That's it. Hear it in context. That's it. That's all the synths for the Stranger Things theme. The only thing left is the little time stretched effect that we have right at the end, and that's what we'll do in the last video, including just a couple of mix points. Okay, so for this last effect, we actually use an Apple loop. So if you go to Apple Loops up here and type into the search box here, title flange, you'll see one title flange sweep 4. That's what we want. So if we just, that's what we drag in. So we just drag that in to an empty track, like so. And what we're going to do is, if I just zoom in a bit, let's close that window. Let's just zoom into that. We can see what we've done. So just going to shorten it first to about there. Make sure the beginning is at the beginning. So like that. And then if I press the Option key when I'm at the bottom half of the bottom right and drag it out, I can't do it all the way. I can just do it a little bit. You keep on doing it. You see those dots, see those lines that come up? You want to kind of sync them up. So it's a bit like a bit like that. So let's have a listen to this. Maybe a bit more, so let's just span it out a bit more. Something like that. I think we want to keep doing it. Something like that. And then reshape it and then put on a fade. So bring up T for your toolkit, fade tool, fade it out, fade it in. And you get something like that. And that's how you do that final thing. So just go through a couple of points with the arrangement. So what you can see here, that a lot of things are going to bus 20. They're not going to the stereo out, they're going to bus 20. And what I've done there is I've used a multipressor, which a final pop compressor, and I've just boosted the middle range, and that's just to glue everything together, all the synths together. Not everything goes to it, but pretty much, apart from the effects and the kick drum, everything else goes through that effect. And if you want to, I said before that if you want to see the arrangement and the sounds that I've done, if you just press the H button, that'll bring up all the sounds as they are in the original that you can hear. So that's it. So I hope you enjoy it. There's a lot to be taken out of this, especially in terms of how you create these sort of tracks, essentially layering sounds that you have and using automation to manipulate them in real time. So good luck with it, have fun with it, and don't forget to go to the website www.musictechguru.com for any more tutorials. Some are free, and yeah, take it from there. Good luck.